So just a small disclaimer before we start today's video, or like trigger warning. I just want to let you all know that there are going to be mentions of suicide. So if you are not in the mental place to hear about that, please click away and I will see you again in another video. I just want everyone's mental health to be at the best of their abilities, and yeah. Okay, so let's get on with the video. So today's video is about Sabrina, 1954, because there are two. We'll be covering the next one next week. And we're going to be talking about this film while I get ready. As you can see, I just brushed my teeth. But we're going to be talking about that film today. So be sure to grab your drinks, grab your food, grab your blankets, and let's talk about Sabrina. So this film was released on September 22nd, near my birthday. Not like the year of my birthday, but like my birthday is September 26th. So, like, yeah. But this film was released on September 22nd, 1954, and was directed by Billy Wilder. The two main characters of this film are Audrey Hepburn, who plays Sabrina, and is most known for her roles in Breakfast at Tiffany's and My Fair Lady, as well as Humphrey Bogart. I'm so bad at pronouncing that name. Who plays Linus and is most known for his roles in Casablanca and The Big Sleep. So, our film today starts off with us meeting our two main characters, Sabrina, Linus Larrabee, and David Larrabee. By getting the backstory that Sabrina's dad works for Linus and David's family, the Larrabee family, as the chauffeur, and with him working this job, Sabrina begins this obsession with David. We then see as an audience that Sabrina has gotten the opportunity to go to Paris for cooking school, to follow in the footsteps of her mother, because her mother was a chef, but instead of being excited for this, she then tries to commit suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning. As she is trying this, though, Linus ends up coming in and saving her before she would have passed. We then see a time jump to the next day, and we see that, like, she's trying to crack an egg, and then we see that she makes a mentor friend, and then we get another time jump of like 2 years, and we see that she has like blossomed into herself, and that she like has cut her hair and she's dressing nicer and things like that. So while Sabrina's having this experience in Paris, back in the States, the oldest son Linus is trying to do this like plastic merger with this family called the Tyson family. And one way that he's trying to make this merger like close is by having David marry Elizabeth, which they are dating, but like he wasn't ready to commit like that, but Linus kind of pushed him into it. And like he's not the happiest about it, but you see that he kind of goes along with it. But when Sabrina comes back into town, this plan gets messed up because instead of her father picking her up from the boat station thing, David ends up picking her up because like he's driving down the road in his little car and he sees her and he pulls over and picks her up and ends up taking her home, which he has no clue who she is. But whenever he finds out, he's like obviously in shock because like he didn't know it was Sabrina, and she's like blown up so much. But there's a party that night and he wants to hang out with her, obviously, because he's him. But he ends up inviting Sabrina to this party that night, and she, at said party, she is getting every guy's attention, of course, because she is beautiful, and instead of taking up the attention that the guys are giving her, she, of course, has eyes on David, as we all know, because she's obsessed and she wants him. Oh, and did I mention that Elizabeth's at the party? He's then able to slip away to go see Sabrina, and they begin to dance and gawk over each other. And while dancing, they decide to slip away to the tennis court to drink champagne and dance. Pretty much the thing that David does every time he has a girl that he wants to get with. And while David is getting everything ready, Linus ends up getting his attention and tells him oh, father needs to speak to you because of your funny business. And he obviously goes, and while talking to his father, he ends up sitting on the champagne glasses he put in his back pockets and gets an ouchie, like a genius does. So after the champagne glass injury, Linus then goes to tell Sabrina what happened, and while there, he begins to fix his master plan to close the merger between the Tysons and the Larrabees by seducing Sabrina, kind of, and they drink champagne, and then they begin to dance, and just whatnot, and then they kiss. This then begins the rest of the plot of the movie, where Linus is trying to keep Sabrina busy while David is healing so that the Tyson-Larrabee merger will close. And while doing this, Sabrina begins to fall in love with him, and he begins to fall in love with her.
Say, I wish I were my brother.
We then skip some time of them just falling for each other, and more and more. And he ends up getting 2 tickets to go to Paris, one for her and one for him. He begins to tell her oh, I've been thinking about what you said, and I think I should go to Paris. I think it will be good for me and whatnot. And this is part of his master plan before he starts falling in love with her. He's going to convince her that he's going to Paris, and then have 2 tickets, and one with her name and one with his name. And she's gonna see him, and he's gonna give them to her, and she's gonna go. And what's gonna happen is once they're there, once it's the day of going, he's not gonna get on the boat, but she is. So then the day that he's doing this master plan happens, and she finds the ticket before he's ready to tell her, and he's just she gets so happy and is so excited, and then the guilt eats at him, and he ends up telling her the truth, which she ends up being heartbroken.
Linus Larrabee Esquire is taking me to Paris.
Sabrina, I wasn't going to take you to Paris. I was going to send you.
Alone?
Yes, all alone.
And while obviously heartbroken, she takes the ticket and begins to get ready to go to Paris. The next day, Linus begins to try to make everything right, as he should, because he's an asshole. Sorry, Mom. But he begins to try to make everything right, and he gets the name changed to David's name so that they can be together, because that's what Sabrina wants, and he wants to make Sabrina happy because he obviously loves her. David then comes into the office furious with Linus because of what Linus has done to Sabrina, and punches him. And once that happens, he then connects the dots and realizes that Linus is in love with Sabrina.
Because you're in love with her.
David then begins to get things ready, so that he can be in charge kind of the merger, or I don't know if he would say he's in charge, but he begins to have it where the merger can close, but Linus can also still be with Sabrina like he wants, so that they can be together, because Linus obviously loves Sabrina, and David knows that and wants them to be happy. Linus then rushes to go be with Sabrina, and he catches up to her, kinda, like, literally he has a boat, so, like, he just sails to the boat that she's on, jumps onto it, and he goes, finds her, and they hug, which is the most anticlimactic ending in the entire history of movies, and then they live happily ever after. Okay, so now for my final thoughts. So the first thing I want to mention is just how perfect Audrey Hepburn was for this role. She just embodied it so well, and I loved her in this. Second is that I really, really enjoyed the casting. Like, I know that in my opinion, like, there was some, like, minor things that I would have changed. Like, I would have maybe had, like, Humphrey Bogart, or is that how you pronounce his name? Humphrey Bogart. I would have him as David, and then David as Linus, just because Linus ends up with Sabrina, and I feel like David and Sabrina had more chemistry than Linus and Sabrina. So that's like the only thing I would have changed, but the cast is so really good. But like then again, like the actor that plays David embodies David so well, so like I don't know what I would do. But like I don't like I wish they had more chemistry. That's it. That's the only thing I wish I had with Dave or Linus and Sabrina. But other than that, I love the cast. My next point, and probably my biggest point I'm going to make in this video, is the suicide attempt. I have to give it props for they're doing something that involves suicide in such the early years, like 1954, which is really like early, which is shocking. But that they would mention something like that. But the thing is that, well, they don't even mention that it's suicide, but we'll get to that. But I didn't really enjoy how, like, the suicide attempt was, like, made into a joke. Like, they made it, like, where it was, like, kind of supposed to be, like, funny. Like, there's a scene that I'm putting in now of, like, Audrey Hepburn, like, shushing at this smoke, and it makes it look funny when it's not supposed to be, because suicide is a serious thing. And, like, Linus also mentions about how he tried to commit suicide, but like he doesn't say it, but like that he was trying to commit suicide, but he was like, I was gonna jump. But like it doesn't feel like it's genuine. It feels like he's just using it as an advantage to get onto Sabrina's good side, because he knows that she tried to, because she's not trying to fix a spark plug. That's obvious, but I just feel like the suicide attempt was just like handled very weirdly, and then how they talked about it from there on out with like just like Linus in general, with him talking about him years ago trying to commit suicide. It uses as he's trying to use it as like a play, and not as like he really was suicidal. I don't know if that makes sense, and I don't want to like downplay his experiences, but we never see it. But like also how he reacts in this one scene where it's like Audrey like does a little like jumpy thing with her hand and is like, is this the balcony? And he's like, what balcony? And then he's like, oh, the balcony. Yeah, that is the balcony. And it's like very just weird to me. My next thing is I just think that the script was written so well, other than like the suicide attempt and like some of the chemistry stuff. But I love like how there's like those witty little banter moments, or like funny little scenes, or like just little things that add like humor and like to the movie and make it just so charming.
I could have sworn I knew every pretty girl on the North Shore.
I could have sworn you took in more territory than that. Here we are.
Now, look, I'm not just pulling that old line of haven't we met somewhere before. We have met some. You don't live here.
Yes, I do.
I live here.
Hi, neighbor.
This is just props to Billy Wilder, but I absolutely love how playful he made Audrey's character, just like how she's just fun-loving and fun-spirited. I feel like it just went really well with it.
All right. The meeting the Larrabee Industries will now come to order. As the chairman of the board, I would like to say at the outset, the chairman is so dizzy.
Yes, I'm gonna rave in a minute about how much I enjoyed the script and like how they had like those good little moments that made it so charming. But I absolutely hate the ending of this film. I wish it would have been just more romantic, and yes, the actors didn't have the best chemistry and things like that, but I wish they would have had something more. My next point I want to make is that I wish that like Sabrina being in love with David and like being so in love with him and infatuated him with him like didn't come off as like stalkerish. Like I don't know if I'm the only one that thought this while watching it, but like Sabrina's like obsession with David to me just comes off as so stalkerish and just like in these clips I'm showing you, it's like she's like following him and looking in on him and stuff, and it's weird. My next point I would like to make is, sorry mom, you're not gonna like this segment because of the cussing, but it's because of the fucking dog. Why the fuck does she have a dog named David? The dog's name is fucking David. It's freaking weird. Don't name your dog after the person you like. It's freaking weird. I don't like it. Like, the dog's freaking cute, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not the cutest dog in the world, but like, it suits her character. But the dog's name is fucking David. Just look at this.
Come on, David.
David? Is his name David?
Yes, it is.
That's funny. My name's David, too.
And the worst thing about all of that is, like, you can tell in the clip that she's embarrassed and she knows that it's, like, weird. But, like, just, I don't like it. I don't like it. It's weird. Just no. My next point I want to make in this video is I really enjoyed the relationship that Sabrina's father had in this, because like I liked seeing him in this, because like it was like kind of like he's always rooting for his daughter and he's always trying to support her and love her, even though he knows she's making a bad decision by being obsessed with David, or like it's a weird decision of being like with Linus and whatnot, but like he's always supporting his daughter. And like he even says that like at the end, near the end of the movie, where he's so apologetic and whatnot, and he's so upset because he put Sabrina in the situation of this when it's not his fault, but he's still such a good father and such a loving father that he is putting it on himself, and he's always supporting Sabrina. Like you see him so much in the film, and I love that, because just a spoiler for the next movie. But in the next one, you don't see him as much as you do in this one. In this one, you just see the father role so much more, and I love that. Like, having that father figure there for Sabrina, it's just, I love it. Okay, so my second to last point of this video before it ends, and I tell you, like, my overall summary of the movie, is Sabrina's outlook on, she thinks in her head that, like, David and Elizabeth are not married yet, so it doesn't matter. Like, she's trying to make her moves on David, and I'm just like, that's against, like, girl code, and I know, like, Elizabeth and, Sabrina, like, probably aren't friends and stuff, but it's just, like, common courtesy. You don't do that, and it just, like, it gives me, like, the ick. It, like, just makes me uncomfortable, because I'm like, they're going to be married, and, like, she's like, oh, well, they're not married yet, and I'm like, so, just, there's a business venture, yes, but, like, still respect the ring, the rock that this woman has on her finger. Like, respect it a little bit. And, like, I know she's been obsessed with this man forever, and he's an F-boy. But just, like, something about it is just, like, so disrespectful, in my opinion. And, like, you just don't do that. It's, like, rude. And I'm, like, I want to support Sabrina in that moment, but I can't, because I'm just, like, it's inappropriate, honestly. Like, you don't do that. Okay, so my final point before we get to the final rating of this movie and what I think of it all together, and like why I'm giving it the rating I do, my final point is I wish that Sabrina and Linus had more chemistry. Like, for example, whenever you see the scene where Sabrina and like David run into each other whenever Sabrina gets back into the States, you see this like light on her face, and you see her like she's so excited and so happy, and you just see this spark on her face. But like, and like you can see her eyes light up, and like you can tell that she's so excited and so happy to see him, and like that she loves David. But the thing is to me, you never get that with Linus. Like, even whenever she finds out that like Linus is taking her to Paris, not really, actually no, but like whenever she thinks that Linus is taking her to Paris with him, she's so excited and so enthralled. Like, but she's not as excited as she is whenever she's with David. Just to me, they need more chemistry, and because they're endgame in this film, but they don't give off endgame vibes. They give off of like they don't like each other. And I know that like Audrey and Humphrey had some issues on set. And like Humphrey did not want this role because he didn't want to be second pick, and he already felt like he was way too old for the role. But you are being paid to do a job, and I want to see that chemistry unfold on screen, and it just doesn't give that. Okay, now for my final rating of what I think of this movie. I rate it out of 10. I rate it a 5 out of 10. And the reason being is, yes, the movie is a good movie to watch if you're just wanting something that's lighthearted and not too much, and just a love story, and like, it's just kind of something calm and that can keep you busy in the background or whatever. It's a good movie for that. But I found that there's more negatives to the movie than positives, for me at least, from when watching it. So that's why I ultimately give it a 5 out of 10. I just wish that like all the things that I critiqued, I wish they would have done a little bit better. And yes, it's a movie from the 50s. What do you expect? It's not going to be groundbreaking, but like it's just my opinion. Don't come for me. And I know this movie is considered a classic because it has Audrey Hepburn and whatnot, and like I know this. But I just wish they went differently with it, and yeah. But not saying the movie's bad whatsoever. And like that you shouldn't watch it, but it's the best way to explain it is a 5 out of 10. It's just neutral. It's not bad, but it's not good. To me, it's not classic worthy, but it's definitely a movie that I would consider watching, but I wouldn't rank it at that classic status. Because, like, to me, Audrey Hepburn has been in, like, way other movies that are way more of a classic, like My Fair Lady, for example. That, to me, is more of a classic than this movie would be. But I definitely stand by my rating of a 5 out of 10, just because it's a very neutral movie to me. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's just in the middle. It has good acting. The story's like kind of good, but like there's a few flaws to it. But like also, I think things could be better. But also, I enjoyed the aspects of like the father being in there more, having that father figure, because I know so many people out there don't have good father figures, and like being able to see someone that's a good father, or like Audrey Hepburn just in general. I love her and she's great, and just but I like that. I like that it tried something with suicide, especially with being in the 50s and mental health being so taboo, but they didn't handle it well. I wish they would have handled it in a more serious manner than not funny. or having it where Linus, it feels like Linus is using that Sabrina tried to commit suicide to his advantage to try to get David and her away from each other, because it just doesn't feel like it's real. Like, as soon as I heard him talk about trying to commit suicide, I automatically think he's using that against her, but in reality, it may not be that, but it's just how the writing was done. But like I said, there's other things in the movie that are great, like the little funny things, or like how like there's so many good banter scenes between like Sabrina and David, or David and Linus, and just things like that. But it, like I said, it's a very hard thing. It was very hard for me to rank this movie, but I feel like 5 out of 10 is the best ranking for it. Okay, everyone, so that's the end of our video today. I hope you enjoyed me ranting about Sabrina. Kind of ranting. I don't know what you would call this. Like, certain things I love, certain things I hate. It's just a mid movie, but I hope you enjoyed. I hope you come back next week for Sabrina 1995, which is literally the same movie but different. If that makes any sense, but you'll see where it's different next week if you come back. But yeah, I recommend coming back to see that video. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment if you watch the movie, or just comment in general. I would love to have a conversation about this film, or any film for that matter. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to follow my Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. On Instagram, I mostly just post pictures because I like doing that. Twitter, I post stuff about movies and random thoughts like how I hate spiders. And on TikTok, I post whatever I want. I don't post very often, but I do post whatever I want. So maybe something like that will interest you. But yeah, okay. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next week.